how can school leadership partner with teachers to leverage their influence?
When you look at the job description and all the characteristics and the attributes they should be showing, right across the top of all of it, it should say marketing. It all markets. We're not only pulling people to our school, we're pulling people to the Lord.
Our best marketing strategy and resources are not the brochures, it's not the flashy websites, it's not the creative social media ads. Happy, engaged teachers delivering excellence, that's impacting and that's effective.
Welcome to the BJU Press Teacher Edition podcast, where Christian educators are encouraged and inspired as we bring you interviews, practical ideas, strategies, and answer your questions about teaching in today's culture. And here's your host, Jenny Copeland.
Well, here we are in February. This school year is flying by, and it is that time of year when both schools and families are already thinking next school year. Schools are holding open houses, putting up billboards, running ads, and just getting their name out there, looking for those families who would be a great fit for them. And you know, families are chatting with other families, they're looking at websites, maybe they're attending events or going to open houses. They're just feeling out those options. And while we are here in drop ad season, as I heard one administrator call it, really we need to have our marketing strategies in place all year long. We need to always be a top-notch display. We need to always be in gear in our marketing department. And while schools are often looking for that next best strategy, that marketing idea, that best tool, well, maybe that's right there in your school. Whether you're a school leader or an enrollment officer or a teacher, this episode is for you, and you're going to find out why in just a minute. But first of all, I want to encourage you to find, like, and follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok as Teacher Edition Pod. We are Teacher Edition Podcast on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, don't forget about our website, teachereditionpodcast.com. There you'll find helpful information about the episodes and our guests, as well as recommended resources from those episodes. We're still looking for your questions, and I want to invite you to visit the website and share those for our future episodes. Well, we are privileged to welcome Cathy Dotson back to the show today. Cathy has been in full-time Christian service as a teacher and a principal for over 30 years. She's currently the elementary principal at Wilmington Christian Academy in Wilmington, North Carolina. Cathy is a favorite speaker at educator conferences, and if you don't already know her, you're just about to experience her contagious energy and her passion for Christian education. Cathy, it's so great to have you back with us on the show. I always enjoy our conversations. So glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I love coming on your show and also just being a part and seeing you at conventions and all that. We just have a great time together.
Yes, we do. Okay, so the last time you were here with us, we talked about parent engagement. You shared some great insights on how everyone at the school can partner with families, connect with them, and just give them that great experience at your school. Well, today you wanted to talk about marketing for schools. So we're in that season, as I mentioned, and there are a lot of strategies. There's tools, there's resources. All these are being thrown at getting customers to notice, visit, and join schools. But as you mentioned when we talked ahead of time, it's not the ads, the websites, the billboards. It's not those that are the most powerful marketers for a school. So what are we talking about here?
Well, a couple different things happened this last week that really made me think about this. I had a teacher that was at the dentist office, and the dentist started asking her where she taught and if she liked it. And she came in the next morning and she said, I know you have business cards, but all the teachers should have business cards too, that just something little to hand to people that are out and about that ask us, because we get asked and we're out and about in the community all the time. Well, then that same day, our development director, she came over and she said, hey, Wilmington Christian is hot on the Facebook today, the moms group of Wilmington, because one parent had come for a tour and had just right on the Facebook moms group, has thousands and thousands of moms on it, said, hey, I toured Wilmington Christian today. Does anybody have any opinions of Wilmington Christian? And so it's our parents that were blasting, but good,
Sure.
whatever they
Yeah,
thought.
we like that kind of blasting. Yeah.
Yes, but on the teachers, the teachers on site are the biggest advertisers because they have a person's child 7, 8 hours a day. And how they're coming across, the students' love for that teacher, the parents' love for that teacher. It was so evident when you read what the parents were putting on that Facebook site. We just love the teachers. They're so nice. Oh, my child has really progressed there academically. It was like every comment they made hinged right back to that teacher. And it was like, oh my goodness, what if they'd have met a nasty negative, or what if their child hadn't learned much? Or, there's just a lot of different comments that were made, and I was just amazed that every one of them went back to the teacher. Not one of them said they have beautiful facilities, or
Interesting.
that principal's nice. I mean, none of it. Every one of them went back to what happened in that classroom and how their child felt and how they felt. And it was like, wow, we've just spent tons of money on open houses and marketing brochures, and the teacher can make it or break it. And it doesn't matter how much you've spent on it. So that's why this is really, we're just entering all this season. And so that just really hit me in the last few weeks that it all ties
Interesting.
in.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So that's probably not what people were thinking when it comes to marketing. So
Yes.
let's hop into that. So let's get started by unpacking. Okay. How do you think, you obviously have experienced this, but how do you think a teacher translates into an effective, authentic marketer for the school? You gave us a few examples, but where is this coming from?
Okay, so the teachers, I think, which is really where I've been burdened in the last few weeks on doing some training in it, which I know we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But teachers really, I think they're just in there doing their job. They're loving teaching, or they're not, or they're whatever. They're doing their daily routine, and it's not even dawning on them that they're the greatest um, retention people that you have that are working for you. And so I think in their classrooms, if you see those teachers that are always requested, they're warm, they're friendly to the parents, they're speaking in car line. I have some that hold up the car line because they always have to speak to, to a parent. The warmthness, they're fair, they're consistent, they're warm is just the biggest thing. Even if you have to tell somebody some tough news, to do it in a kind, loving way. That countenance that they see all the time in the car line, in the hallways, that plays so much into parents feeling loved and like their child is loved. I think people pick schools or stay in schools. You can be flashy up front and lots of people come to your school, but the quality inside, which is inside that classroom, is what absolutely keeps those parents coming back. And so I think the teacher's key, and those little one-on-one things, the teacher, how they interact is the biggest thing through their communication, countenance, how they reach out to the parents or not. All those things are vital and play into it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I mentioned at the start of the episode that marketing can't be limited to just 1 month or one season. And especially if teachers are the greatest marketers, well, they are in action every single day, like you said. How do you see, you hinted a little bit on it, but how do you see those daily interactions of the teacher directly influencing a family's perception? Maybe we can take that down the road just a little further.
Yes, if you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, if a parent emails you and needs a question answered, how quick do we get back to them?
Right,
What
right.
does our response sound like? If they have to wait a week and get the principal involved, they don't think you communicate. Some teachers are like that day. I mean, I encourage all mine within 24 hours, respond to everything.
Right.
Also, how do we respond? Do we respond in a very kind way? We can be very kind and have a good, short, concise answer, but we can also come across sometimes as they're getting on our nerves or we're too busy. Like, "Ugh, this person asked so many questions."
Oh, you
I
have
told my
those, do you?
Yes, and I told my teachers, it's like Walmart. They're customers. They can ask as many questions as they
That's right, they
want.
can.
And if we just put a smile on our face, warmth in our voice, and answer it, and just, and that you always have a few that you feel like are high maintenance. You really
Absolutely.
do. You have high maintenance parents. but they're not all high maintenance. So how quick are we responding back to parents? What's our tone when we respond to them? And sometimes if we see something that could be an issue, if we're proactive ahead of time, the parent then thinks, oh my goodness, that teacher is actually looking out ahead for my child's best interest. Or sometimes if the parent doesn't even ask us anything, we just notice a certain characteristics in a child and we think, I need to communicate that because as a parent, I would want to know so I could nip it in the bud. How proactive are we in our communication? I know a lot of this comes to communication, but also within a classroom. Does that child love that teacher? That's one thing that's easier about the elementary is
Sure.
that
Right.
if you're warm and fun, usually the kids love you. And then you can, hammer them with the other things. But even in middle school and high school, do you care enough about that student to ask them about their personal life or their home life or help them extra after school in a help class if they need it? That speaks volumes to a parent because they don't necessarily tell their parent everything, but they'll every time I go on an accreditation team, I'll say, "Who's your favorite teacher and why?" Every single time, it's the teacher that took time to talk to that student
For
is
sure.
who the student loves.
Yeah.
So, naturally, then the parents love that teacher the best
Of
because that's
course.
the one their kid
Child's
always
happy.
comes home talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, in turn, teachers can have faults, and they do, and they make errors and mistakes. But if that student is so loved and it's communicated, boy, that parent doesn't wanna go anywhere else, anywhere
It's
else.
true.
And I
Yeah.
love it when a parent says, "Oh, we had the best teacher this year," and then they go to the next year and they're like, "We didn't think you could beat Miss So and so, but oh, we love this one." And that keeps that culture of them doing anything to stay. You have those
Right.
parents that'll say, "I'll take 2 jobs before I take my kid out of this school."
That's right.
It's because their family is in, but they feel loved and listened to. There's gonna be problems, but if they feel like they can speak to somebody and they're open about it, that first of all, that's the teacher not putting up those bristles or not being, just again, apologizing if we need to, working on things if we need to. But when the parent feels heard and they feel like we're listening to their child and looking out for them, it goes a long way. There's just a lot of things.
Absolutely. No, for sure. No, think you hit the nail right on the head. So loving them and listening to them, it goes so far. Okay, so I would say in general though, teachers don't see themselves in the role of a marketer. Like you said before, they're just doing their thing. They're in their room. Well,
Yes.
that makes it sound really simple. But what I'm saying is, their focus is on their lessons, on their students, on keeping up with life within their classroom. But this is really bigger than that. So what are your thoughts? How do you think, teachers generally feel? Are they empowered to do this? Do they feel prepared to be ambassadors for their school? And regardless, what kind of support do you think they need in order to really do this?
Well, I think most of them are clueless in that aspect, except if they see another one, someone at school do something that they shouldn't or that would deter a family, they'll be upset about it. "Oh, I can't believe this just happened. That's awful, da 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 da." But in the day-to-day life of their own in the classroom, I think they're all about communicating and teaching and all of that, but they're not well aware of the big picture of how it
Right,
fits in.
right.
And in my own life here, it's really brought attention to me on that I need to train in that area. And it's not necessarily that it's big professional developments. It's reminders and teachers meetings how their actions, good or bad, really plays out. Sometimes when a parent will send me a real positive email or a note about a teacher, I'll read it in faculty meeting. Or
Great
I'll
idea.
send it
Yeah.
back to the parent and just say, "Oh, I know I love them too. Kudos," but I'll copy the teacher on it. I always send that because that way the teacher's like, "Oh, that action did," you
Yeah.
know. One time we had maintenance men that changed a mom's tire out in the parking lot. It's a single mom out in the parking lot. And she wrote in a rave about them. Well, we recognized them because it's everybody. It's actually the secretaries at the front counter and how they answer. And it's
For
the business
sure.
office warm. And it's everybody. It just happens though that the teacher's with them 7 hours a day and has probably 99% of the communication with that parent. So I think the teachers, they know about it, but they're very not aware of the biggest role that it plays. Like, it's not dawning on them. When you go home and you get quoted, and when you go home and the kid acts like you, what are you looking like when they're acting like you? Or the remarks that we can make, and they go home and tell it, how does that come across? It's little things. And so sometimes I think we can really empower them if we explain that side of it to them, but also, it's just as things come up, we kudo them, but we also give constant reminders. Hey, this is a busy week. How are we coming across when they see us all tonight at the concert? Everybody got a smile on their face? Are we speaking to everybody? Or are we trying to beat them out of the room and turn the lights out? It's all those little things. And for elementary people or anybody that works car duty lines, what do you look like at 3 o'clock and sound like? I
Yes.
used to catch
Yes.
myself. We sound different on Friday afternoon at 2
Oh,
o'clock
yes, we do.
than
Yes.
we do at Monday morning at 10 o'clock. And so I think it's twofold, making them aware of it and then constantly little nugget reminders. I was recently in a store and I could hear the 2 workers behind the counter, and I'm waiting to check out, and they're talking away on how awful the admin is at their store. This is a store. How
Oh,
awful, and how they didn't think about their employee. I mean, they were just annihilating the people in charge at that store. And I was standing there with another person in line as a customer listening to this, and I just kinda made eye contact. And I'm thinking, "Oh, I hope nobody at our school does this because, it made me not wanna shop there anymore."
right, right.
And they're going all off about how they're mistreated, and it's like, "Oh, we always gotta be aware of our environment, those little ears, those big high school ears. Everybody's listening. Everybody's listening." And, I grew up in a Christian school that was a very poor Christian school. And I watched how my teachers and all lived, and thank goodness they didn't deter me from ever wanting to be in ministry, and they sure could have been with what they made back then and how they had to live and the things. And what if they'd have been nasty or negative?
Right.
We're not only pulling people to our school, we're pulling people to the Lord.
That is so
And
true.
also kids may be into our calling. And so if we talk so bad about it or we're negative or we're not warm and friendly and loving people. Like, if you don't love people, you should not be in this occupation.
Well, I think it's a great question too. Would anyone wanna be a teacher after watching you?
Right.
Because we do have little people in our classrooms who wanna be teachers,
Yes.
and at the end of the year, are they still gonna wanna be a teacher after watching you?
Yes. And
So
would people choose my room, my
yeah,
classroom, if they had to, or if they could, but they want to choose my room, you know?
yeah,
And so I just think it's so vital that there's gonna be issues, there's gonna be all those things. It's how we handle it. Because I've even heard parents here say before, "I wouldn't leave this school bubble." Now, we've had issues, and I've gone straight to 'em and talked about it, but it was handled. Do you know what I mean? They just wanna
sure.
they
Yeah, that's
expect
gonna
that there's
happen.
gonna be things.
Absolutely.
And how we teachers, admit everybody, um, corrects those things and how we come across really is how we keep people in our schools.
Yeah.
Poor
Okay, so
teachers hold the weight though, because you know what I mean? They're just with
right.
them 90 something percent of the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think closely connected to that, we're talking about, there will be things that aren't perfect, or that we all know that in every workplace there are things that aren't always perfect. We get that. So I guess that kind of brings me to my next thought is teacher satisfaction and the morale in your culture. We've had episodes here on the podcast about climate and about the culture of a school. I wonder your thoughts on how teacher satisfaction and really the morale of a school, the morale of the teachers correlates to that message. I mean, hopefully we wanna positive message that they send
Mhm.
out. What do you think the correlation is there?
I think it's huge. It's just like that store when I was sitting there listening to
That's
those
what I was thinking of.
2,
Yeah.
their morale was terrible. Now, in defense of who's in charge of that store, they could have been doing everything right and people reading I don't know.
Sure.
But if in a school, if teachers were talking bad about the admin, if teachers are don't like their room, don't like their coworkers, don't like two of the kids that's in the room with their mothers or whoever, and they're talking about it, and it shows on their countenance when they speak to those people. Anything like that, it really, really, really plays into it. Or if they think they're not heard at school, the whole morale really plays into it. That whole flesh side of our human nature is what it plays into. I've been there, you remember
Sure.
those times.
Oh,
The
yes.
thing is, you hope and pray that your people are big enough to, again, there's a time and a place to discuss that. In classrooms, with parents, with kids nearby, anything like that would not be the time or place to discuss it. If we can keep the bigger picture in view of we want kids in our school to be saved and we want lives changed, and they can't do it if my attitude is just is displaying this at the moment, or it's harder for them to. I got to cut it out and go make an appointment with somebody that can fix that problem. But nobody's going to steal my joy in this classroom. It's not the kids' fault. None of it is. I'm gonna have a great time with the kids and the teenagers and teach, and I'm gonna be the one that stands before the Lord someday, and I'm not gonna get sidetracked by somebody else's whether I think admin's doing well or not. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Right,
not
right, yeah.
gonna let
Yeah, it's not
somebody steal my joy or run me out of the ministry that the Lord's called me to. And if they can keep their head about them and just enjoy those kids and teach and wanna reach those families, it can really they can be our greatest marketers. When a teacher's on, I can go down my hallway. There's 3 or 4 of them that are absolute tops, always requested, always whatever, and they love their job. It doesn't matter if a ball team's winning, they got a nasty mama. It does not matter what's going on in the classroom, outside, you know what I mean, around the school. They have a great time in their classroom, and they still give it their all. And, boy, are they great marketers.
Okay, so building on what you've shared, what can schools do? Let's talk about that. Let's start with how can school leadership partner with teachers to leverage their influence? We've talked about their influence. We've talked about, how we want them to respond, how to deal with things that they don't like, things like that. But this all has to be intentional. It's not just an assumption that this is going to happen. So what are your thoughts on how a school can help accomplish this with the teachers?
Well, just in this coming back to my mind and me experiencing these last things that I did in the last week or so, when we get back in January, I'm gonna talk about it in a faculty meeting. Hey, we kick off re-enrollment right here in January and February. We kick it off, and, I'm gonna just have a great discussion with mine. Sometimes I give them a little example, like I'll tell them about the scenario that happened to me. Um, I think talking about it, making them aware of it, also them giving examples. You tell me how you think you all have been great marketers. Like, tell on each other. Who
Yeah,
you call out somebody that's done a great job because
right.
they really do that well.
Yeah.
They know what each other does. So and so called a parent at 11 o'clock at night and did this, or um, this child said this, or this parent said that. And if they give good examples on each other of how they can accomplish that. Also, they could give me good examples of this is what we still need from you. That's what we need. Like my one teacher had the idea, she said, instead of a business card, it's that size. If we just had a cute thing that was the school thing that small that you just whipped out and said, oh my goodness, call the school for a tour. My kids all graduated from there and we love
Great
it. And I've been there
idea.
teaching 20 years. Call the
Yeah.
school. No teacher or anybody's gonna carry around a glossy brochure. You don't even see
Right, right.
those,
No.
anymore. But I think talking about it, we don't ever talk about teacher as marketer. And I know sometimes they'll roll their eyes when we give them talks about customer service. They just hate that whole concept, but they are. They're the biggest customer service. That and the front counter ladies are your biggest customer service people in the whole school. And so I really think just talking about it and letting them share how they've done it or others around them, because it calls it to mind. They're quick to tell if somebody's not doing it, though. They'll say,
Oh,
"Oh, we
yes.
felt like this parent was mistreated or whatever, or this child was, but what are we doing in our own room?"
Yeah.
And so I think the big thing is calling attention to it, training some on it, talking about it, getting their ideas and show and tell on it. Who's doing a great job doing that? Because then they look for it in each other. And a lot of times in schools, it's almost like it's bigger and better
Right.
because it is a competition.
Oh,
The
yes. For
teacher's got the best
educators.
this. How am I going to get that?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
just being aware of
Yeah.
always your tone of voice, your countenance to the students, to the parents is so much of it. So much of it. But I want to do some more training on it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love the idea of just drawing attention to it and
Mm.
them pointing out examples of it or even giving examples of how they could do better. That helps them
Yeah.
own it too. It's not just
Yeah.
us saying, do this, do this, do this,
Uh-huh.
but hearing from them. I love that. Okay, now you did mention, some of them roll their eyes, because it's like, oh, here we go with the customer service. And I'm guessing that there are some teachers listening who are slightly cringing at the thought of added responsibilities or is this? So I guess would you consider being a school ambassador part of the teacher's job description? Is it part of their professional development? If so, you kind of mentioned some skills you want to highlight. Is that part of this? How does this fall in their responsibilities?
Okay, so it shouldn't be anything extra on them. But it's amazing that when you look at teacher job descriptions, it's nowhere in it.
Interesting.
Okay, that the topic, the teacher will be primary chief marketer for the school is nowhere in it.
No.
But when
Mm-mm.
you look at the job description and all the characteristics and the attributes they should be showing, returning calls in a timely manner, kind and loving to students, answers things thoroughly. I mean, when you really look down at the attributes for the teachers that you're expecting, the expectations from handbooks and the job description, right across the top of all of it, it should say marketing. It all markets. On the other side, the Christian side, it shows love, support, community, engagement, ties into our other thing we talked about. It does, but at the same time, it also is marketing. We love people. How do we say as Christians, we love people and what our number one goal is to bring people to Jesus? You can't do it if you're not kind and loving and meeting a need, in their life. And so I don't think it should be an added thing because if they're doing what the handbook says and if they're doing what their job description says, doing it with a smile on your face doesn't cost you any more time and it doesn't cost you any amount of money. Smile, be warm, put personal things aside while you're at school for the day and just think, ooh, this mom's having a rough week. Let me just ask her how she's doing. You're already standing at car line. You're already standing there anyway. Or just giving one compliment when you put a kid in the car means so much to a parent. And it
Absolutely.
doesn't cost, again,
Right.
nothing extra on the teacher. Just be kind, be friendly. I keep bringing those up because a person is more approachable if their countenance is pretty. If your
100%.
countenance is kind and you're smiling, boy, people will come to you, for that.
Okay, so messaging is obviously key. We want an accurate message, a unified message, a clear message. What are your thoughts on how schools can ensure that the marketed message aligns with the actual experience daily? What's going on in the classroom? Because I mean, you put anything up on a billboard, everybody looks happy and organized and good to go, and then that's not what is happening on the inside. What are your thoughts on that consistent message?
Okay, that to me is the hardest thing about being a principal is you're out
Mm,
advertising one thing. And if everybody behind the scene doesn't have 100% buy-in,
right.
that parent automatically I had one time a parent tell me that a teacher did not match my mission statement.
Wow.
And at the end of the year, that teacher transitioned because there was so many examples of that in one person's classroom.
Yeah. Message.
Oh, it was so hard to do. I mean, it was so
Wow.
hard to do. Master
Hmm.
teacher, I mean, oh my goodness. But if you're not coming across as loving people, how in the world are they going to listen to your message and your
Absolutely.
content and get it? I want to hire somebody that everybody in the class can grow up to be like. And so the message has to. So I think it's twofold. I think we publish who we are, and as administration, we have to constantly be looking for it and just calling it out. Hey, next time, hey, have a smile on your face when you say that. You don't have to be nasty when you say, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we have to call out little things so they don't become big things in a way of life for our culture. But also, I think once we talk about it, like we talked about just a minute ago, when we bring it up and we actually talk about it as a faculty, they are really good about calling out each other. And I don't mean in a bad way.
Sure.
It's just, what are you three talking about when you're standing on the playground together? Because there's lots of little ears. But if two just walk away or don't participate, it's hard for one to talk negative. Do you know what I mean? And so I
Right.
think the
Right.
teachers having a conversation about it and just good reminders. Remember, people are listening to every conversation you have on campus. Calling attention to it to teachers can really help with that. Also, I think that teachers really want to be loved by the families. I think they really, really do. And sometimes you can just have maybe two that get together, or you can have a moment in the classroom. And when you have that moment in the classroom, I've had teachers before that'll just call a parent and say, listen, today I had a conversation with your child, and I said this, and I probably shouldn't have, but I was treating them like my own child for a moment. And I did. So I wanted to let you know what I said and really my heart behind it. And do you know what I mean? That goes a long way with parents.
For sure.
A
Mhm.
long way with parents. So I think talking about it is the biggest thing, with the teachers, because they can also help keep each other accountable.
Sure. Yeah, just pointing those out. Sometimes we don't even notice how we're coming
No,
across.
we
We
don't.
don't mean
Yeah.
it at all. I'm one of those people, like, I cross my arms a lot, and it's not because I'm put out or having a bad attitude or bored or whatever. My back and neck, I have back and
Yeah.
neck issues, and it kinda helps to kinda lift my arms
Yeah.
for a few minutes and stand there and listen, but even that can be mistaken, and so sometimes just talking like, "Hey, this is how it's coming across." That's great. I'm so glad you mentioned just calling attention to it so that we can become better together. Let's talk
Yes.
social media. So we haven't really
Yes.
hit on that yet. We've done a ton of communication, which is so important, but social media is such a big player today. You hear about something, you go to social media. People like something, they go to social media. They don't like it, they go to social media. So with teachers being marketers, as we're talking about, is there a place for social media here? Has the rise of social media amplified a teacher's marketing reach? Can that be used, in a good way? And what are the best practices, like if a teacher wants to share something out about their classroom or whatever? What are your thoughts on that using social media?
And a lot of that has to do with maybe that school's rules, I'll say
True.
that,
True.
and
Yeah.
they can never help how a parent blasts something on their own personal site or on the Wilmington Moms group or the
Right.
whatever. It's neat to read those to know if we're coming across in a different way, and sometimes when we see something, then it just happens to something about it as an announcement in the newsletter the next week
Right.
that,
Right.
so it's
Yeah, we
good
can
to
weave
know
that
that.
in.
Yeah. But I think for teachers, again, no other responsibility on them. But usually they do send out messages, but how are they sending them out? Like we use Class Dojo. We just happen to use it for behavior, and we use the message part of it because our parents love it. But when a teacher will send a picture out, everybody's having a great time doing the STEM activity today, and they send one picture out that says, I have a bunch of smarty STEM students in here today. Or I'm proud of these sophomores. Here's the ring ceremony, or here's their one picture, and the tagline tells the parent everything because the parent is reading the picture. Their kid's having a great time in that picture. or that teacher recognized that my middle schooler or my high schooler or my elementary student, yay, these made the honor roll. Yay, this one got a college scholar. Any blurb the teacher sends out, it speaks volumes. And if you notice, the ones that seem to be loved the most send out the most.
Imagine that. Yeah, they do that work, not just because they have nothing else to do, but that is
I'll look
definitely
at it's
them
not even a
marketing
requirement.
positive.
Yes, it's not even a requirement. I'll look at their dojo and, oh my word, the amount of pictures because 'cause they're standing there anyway, and they'll just send it out. 3 kids up telling the Bible story. Proud of them. 'Em, they're being our little missionaries today, sharing the gospel, and the parents are like, "Oh," it just gets them. Same way for middle school and high school parents, they love pictures too, and we don't send enough. But a lot of times teachers, don't make it be the same kid always. The tagline that goes with it is everything. I love my whatever. It's the tagline that most of the time will say it all. It's not long messages. Everybody hates long messages.
Right,
It's
right.
one word, but even in your weekly newsletter, you're always doing a shout out to this group or a big thank you to the parents for being so kind to you and great to work with. It's a simple shout out that also puts the parents in, oh, she thinks the parents are wonderful and loves their help. So they come in line too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who's
Yes,
gonna
yes,
act up
powerful.
when the teacher's been thanking them?
That's right, that's right.
So I think social media anymore is huge,
Yeah,
huge. And even if a teacher just sends out 1 picture a week, whatever they know in their head is gonna be the blast of the week, the best thing you're doing in that classroom, 1 overall shot of it, just it gives the parent a picture into
yeah.
your classroom.
Yeah, agree completely. Let's keep down that digital path because that digital reach, I guess we can say. You talked a little bit about we talked social media, but you mentioned things like Class Dojo, things like that. What part do you see digital communication playing in retention marketing? You talked about even just putting out one picture or things like that. We've talked a lot about reaching new families, but that retention sounds like that comes a lot from that constant communication, that in digital
Constant.
communication in this age. Do you have any
Yes.
other comments on that?
It's most elementary people send out that weekly newsletter, which is great. That's your this is how much we're learning and work on these things, and I'm proud of these, and thank you for partnering with me. That thing, that's those kind of messages going out makes the teacher go, "Oh, I'm not gonna go learn some new school. I don't even know how those people are over there, but I love these people and they communicate." The picture says, I don't mind if you see a picture into my classroom. Here's a little window into our world,
Right.
and it's a great world in here. You're advertising for yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
But Dojo not only tells them the negative features on what their child needs to work on, which parents honestly want to know where their kids are. It also sings the phrases, sends the pictures, whatever platform you use. But Google Classroom speaks volumes to a teacher, I mean, a parent, because when their child's over there doing their homework, it's on Google Classroom, the parent is seeing the videos that are on there, how much is put into it, the test and the quizzes, and they can look back and review all of that. And so it's like, wow, that teacher's loaded with content. My kid's getting a lot academically. But then here's this, whoo, look at the fun thing we did this week. And if a teacher thinks about it, they're already doing all that work. They're already doing all the work. It's just, I would call the parents' attention to it. Hey, you're always free to look on Google Classroom and see how much we're learning and what we're doing. The sheet that you're gonna, your study stuff is on there, or get on there and check out this or that. It keeps them tied in. And to
Right.
me, when they feel communicated with, they feel like their child is getting a lot academically. They're also getting the love, the fun side of it. Why would they go anywhere else? Why would they
Exactly.
go? You're excellent. Well communicating teachers have the highest re-enrollment every single year for a reason.
Okay, so as in anything, we want to measure results. We all know what it is to do the same thing the same way, and for some reason think we're going to get a different result. It's just not going to happen. So, how do we know if this is successful? How do you measure this? How do you measure to see if, what you have is impacting? Let's start on the teacher side. How do you measure a positive teacher culture? How do you know if you have it?
As a principal, you really know if you have it or not. You have it or not because you hear from different groups and people and you watch it and observe it all year. My biggest thing is I print off the student list as they re-enroll, like right here,
Yeah,
January, February, they're re-enrolling. I celebrate 100% re-enrollments. And so I'll get
great
Starbucks
idea.
gift cards. And in January, the day before re-enrollment ends, any child that's not re-enrolled, the teacher calls the parent. That is the extra. The teacher calls and says, "Oh my goodness, he's having a great year. He's not re-enrolled. I can't imagine him not coming back. I want to see him again next year." Right on down the hallway.
Personal contact's
Yes.
great.
What happens is for the one that forgot, oops, and whatever, it cleans you up your re-enrollment. And so then we'll wait. And if somebody hasn't 3 or 4 days later, I call the
Mhm.
family. But I go to faculty meeting and I'll go, "Come up here for your, $10 Starbucks gift card. You have 100% re-enrollment." And I just start calling the homeroom teachers and they're like, "Yay, my Starbucks." And so we try to celebrate. And I tell them, I only want to see them not coming back if the kid's moving out of state. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right.
they're not in our radius.
We'll let that one slide.
Yeah. So I watch it and we celebrate it. There's always, usually always a correlation with poor classroom, poor re-enrollment.
Yeah,
And so it's easy then to have some conversations about it. Remember, I've kind of talked with you about this all year, and this is what parents are saying, and we're seeing a drop off here. Like families that have always been here aren't coming back. And
right.
so to me, you can narrow more in on the problem then because it might be that whatever the issue is, and you can correct it, meet with a family or teacher, but your re-enrollment stats are easy to see. And most of the time, they can match up with that teacher's professional development plan or their evaluations from the year. Because on it, if you've marked on there, excellent teaching these concepts, I need you to work on warmth with parents in the car line. I need you to call one parent a week to what usually their plan and their in what you've observed is kind of matching up. And so anyway, those are just some things like to look at.
Yeah,
But
that's great.
again,
That's
for a
really
teacher to call and say they didn't re-enroll. Oh my goodness, what's going on? It leads for a great conversation. And
yes,
most of the
yes.
time, it's like, "Oh my goodness, I thought my husband did it." You know
Right,
what I
right,
mean? It's
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of thing. It clears up that. But at the same time then, if someone says, "Well, I have financial," it's not you at all. I promise we love you. It's financial issues. It really looks good then because that teacher comes running right in here and says they've got financial issues. And then I call and say, "The business office is gonna be calling you. We might have some
Yeah,
more scholarship money." Then they really
right.
feel like they're loved by that
Of
teacher, right?
course.
Because the teacher
Yes.
actually passed the need on.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
excellent.
I think there's several data points that will back up behind the scene. And those are the
Right.
ones that we look at anyway with it.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so just like we wanna measure outcomes, we have to also count the threats or the risks. So this marketing strategy sounds fantastic and impacting, but what about the flip side? Are there any potential risks or challenges when you're placing this type of responsibility on teachers? What do you think?
Okay, so the responsibility is already there. It's already happening, whether we call attention to it or not. There are
True.
number one marketers, and them drawing people in or pushing people away happens every day. And we're already not really talking about it, you know?
Right.
And so I think anything we can do to have conversations, talk with them about it, and begin just checking and watching for it, anything just helps because it's already happening. Good, bad, or ugly, it's already happening.
Yeah. Okay, so time is running away. Let's see how we can gather up all of this great information that you've given, all these practical ideas that you have shared, and let's see if we can sum them up. So, our best marketing strategy and resources are not the brochures, it's not the flashy websites, it's not the creative social media ads. Happy, engaged teachers delivering excellence. That's impacting and that's
Yes.
effective. So, Kathy, as we wrap up, how would you summarize what you shared today, maybe in a few key takeaways for our listeners today?
I think the number one thing parents are looking for is just authenticity.
Mm, Yeah.
It's not about how big your marquee is out front and how flashy the front is. What is the substance inside? And the teachers deliver 99% of that substance. So authenticity is a absolutely huge thing. And I think it's all of them working together so that your culture, they need to roll from this teacher to the next teacher experiencing the same thing, to the next teacher experiencing the same thing. Love, warmth, and we care about you. You might be the slowest kid in the room, or you might be the smartest kid in the room. We love you, and we're gonna try our hardest to meet the need. And sometimes I have to bring this other teacher, like the resource teacher, in, but wow, she's nice too, my goodness, and communicates, you know. And
Yeah.
then you got the coach that's that way, or you got the music teachers that are that way. It takes everybody doing this so that it's not just it was a grade level thing or it's a department thing. It's a culture of we love people. Jesus loved people. We love people. And we can bring them to him better that way. I also think that teachers are the number one, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, the teachers are the number one key to retention. The admin is the key to bringing new ones in with your flashy whatever, whatever. But even more so than that, these same parents that the teachers love and that they love the teacher is who's telling their neighbors that our flashy
Right. That word
advertisements
of mouth.
can never get to, right? It's the
Yes.
word of mouth. And so when this parent says, you've got that problem, you have got to go to WCA or you've got to go wherever. They trust their friend. They don't trust the us yet, but they trust the friend. And what happened to the friend's kids? And so they send them all on word of mouth, which all still comes back to the teacher in that classroom and the interactions that they've had. And so retention, whether we ever mention it, it can only improve if we talk about it and give some tips and let them share ways they do it. And I'm talking about, what about 5 minutes in each meeting? Hey, everybody, who's done something this month? Call out somebody and here's a kudo. You saw something that portrayed, I care if these people stay or not.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
love the school and I'm gonna act that way in my classroom.
This is a lot to think about and so practical. Cathy, once again, you've come in with great insights, practical ideas, and you just really challenged us, both teachers and leaders. This was for both. So thank you so much for being willing to make us think about how we're doing things and where we're really putting our focus. These are some really powerful things to consider. And as always, it's just so fun getting to talk with you. I
You
greatly
too.
appreciate your time. Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
on the show.
Thank you, thank you. We'll see you again.
Yes, I hope so. And listeners, thank you also for joining in today. I hope you're leaving with some good thoughts and some challenges to chew on. Cathy has really given us a lot to think about today. Remember to go to teachereditionpodcast.com to submit questions for upcoming episodes. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow us on social media. Now it's time to get back to your day. It's not just any day. Every day in the classroom is your day to impact and inspire through God's power and also through His grace working in you. Now go do what God has called you to do.